Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Wednesday, and all of our guests today are brought to you by our title sponsor, Able Auctions, ableauctions.ca. What would we do without them? Dallas Stars beat the New Jersey Devils 4-3 last night in Dallas. They've won 6 of their last 7. Have the Stars third overall in the National Hockey League standings, second in the Central Division to Winnipeg, having another outstanding season. The owner of the Dallas Stars and the Kamloops Blazers is Vancouver's Tom Gaglardi, and they play the Stars, the Canucks, Sunday at Rogers Arena. Tom, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Don.
Safe to say you're pretty happy with the way your team's playing this season?
Yeah, we've had a good season and, better second half for sure. I think our record since Christmas is, if it's not the best, it's right there. So yeah, it's the kind of year I expected to have with this group. And to boot, we've had, an incredible number of injuries. And so, pretty happy with how the guys are playing.
What can you tell us about Miro Heiskanen is such an impressive player, gets injured in Vegas. What can you tell us about his health, Tom?
Well, he just got a classic, knee ligament tear. So it just takes time, and he's rehabbing, super hard. He's a very committed guy, and we're just hoping that we can get him back early in the playoffs. We're pretty sure he's not going to play any regular season games. So, and so we're projecting at some point, possibly sometime in the first round, but it's still up in the air. It's a ways away, and these things take time. So it's really unfortunate. He's, really our best player, and so it hurts not to have him.
Your team grabs Granlund and Ceci in February. Trade deadline coming up on Friday. Should we expect more moves from the Stars, Tom?
I don't know. We have a habit of kind of doing things early and getting out in front of it. And, we're usually able to find the players and the partner who will, you make a fair deal, and, it takes the pressure off that team heading into the deadline to get something done. In this case, San Jose. And, there's always a risk that your guy, you think you're going to move at the deadline, gets injured and those types of things. So that's kind of our process. So, and I think the injury to Miro really expedited our need to get some help on the back end and some depth, because we lost, a 24, 25 minute guy. So, I don't know what we're going to do. It's really a crazy market because there's so many teams in it now. And if you look back 2-3 weeks ago, it looked like the 8th spot in the playoffs in the West, for instance, was going to come down to Calgary or Vancouver. But now those teams have let a whole bunch of other teams in the race now. So it'll be interesting to see, teams that we expected that would be moving players at the deadline might not. And it's pretty jammed up. There's still a lot of teams that are in it in the East as well. So, there's just, it's unclear as to, and I know these teams are waiting to the last minute to know, are we going to stay the course, or are we going to, move our UFAs and try to gain some assets and fight another time. So it'll be very interesting, and it wouldn't surprise me to see us do something on the depth side of things. Always looking for depth. So we'll see what's out there and if there's a fit.
Hey, Tom, do you have to worry about chemistry? You guys are going so well. One of the best teams in the league. It's got to be a hell of a good dressing room. Do you worry about, maybe chemistry as an issue? Or
Yeah. Yeah, well, what I would say to that is we have a really strong room, and we have for a long, long time. And that's really, testament to Jamie, Ben, our captain, and, a long time. And so we're sort of in a place where we don't really worry about our room. We've been, we've had guys come and go and added guys, and maybe sometimes you might be, but we're really not. Having said that, my general manager is really, to put it mildly, he's just got a no asshole rule. So if you're an asshole, you're not going to play for our team. So he's got a filter, and there's just certain players that they come up in conversations and he'll just say, I just don't want that player here, type of a thing. So between Jim's filter and the strength of our room, which we've been fortunate to have, and we have new players that come in that remark about that. I mean, this is the greatest room I've played in. We had Pavelski there for a while, and he was just fantastic. And so, the residue of his leadership is continuing to persist even without him there this year. So we're fortunate in that regard.
Do you have a sign regarding that rule in your dressing room, Tom, by any chance?
Right in the front.
That's a good question. Good question, but that's a good question.
We have that in this studio.
Yeah, we have that sign in the studio.
And it's not working, Tom.
Yeah.
How did you guys get through?
Good one. Hey, Tom, Thomas Harley, this guy, walks on in the Four Nations, the Canadian roster. He was so good. How proud are you of him and what he did at Four Nations for Canada?
Yeah, well, he's no surprise, to us. I mean, and he's not a fluke. I mean, he's a first-round pick. So, yeah. He's a 6'3" guy, he skates like the wind, and he's turned into be a great pro. And frankly, had he been a right shot, he probably would have been on the team when Pietrangelo went down. So, that kind of came into play there. So, when Theodore was unfortunately injured, then that gave Thomas a chance. And did he ever deliver? I mean, he was I think second or third in minutes in the games he played, and for sort of a walk-on guy at the last case. So yeah, really proud of what he's doing, and he's picked up the pieces from Miro. I mean, he's added minutes. He's playing the first line power play. Our power play has really come on strong. So you got to give him a lot of credit. He's a great player, and he's just getting better and better.
Hey, Tom, you own 2 hockey clubs. Can you give us a little insight on, when the trade deadline comes, how active is an owner? Like, every owner is different, but do you get in there or do you kind of say, hey, here's my GM, let him do his job?
I actually own 3 teams, but that's fine. And talking about, I'm kind of kidding, but the American Hockey League Texas Stars is our farm team.
Oh, right. Sorry.
We run as well. That's okay, because I like to talk about the American Hockey League too. But yep. I'm just, how involved. I mean, I know what's going on. We talk and any sort of material indication. If there's minor league deals or things going on that are not, I'm told, but I'm not really at the table. And sometimes I'll make the trip down to Dallas because all our scouts and all of our management are all in the same room, and it's the old war room, which you see on TV, and sometimes I'm there. I don't think this year I'm going to be able to get there, and I don't expect us to do a lot. But I mean, in the advent since the pandemic, we've all learned how to use Zoom pretty well. So we're able to bring a lot of guys onto a Zoom call, and we're all sitting there, and so. But the notion that anything happens in the National League, on a spur or is on a whim isn't reality. So in other words, anybody that we're looking at getting, we've been talking about for months, or in the case, I mean, there's players that we've got at the deadline that we've had on the radar screen for like 3 years, and there's just certain players that organizations like and covet, and then when that moment comes, and but these conversations are always happening. So I think fans think that, who saw that coming? That doesn't usually happen in practice. So there's not a lot of surprise. I mean, whether you get a deal done or not on a guy is a surprise, because there's usually multiple bidders, and you never really know till it's done. But we kind of have an idea who we target, well in advance. So there's not like it's a lot of mystery, if I can put it that way.
I don't know why Rick would ask that question. There's no owners in the NHL that meddle. Is there, Tom, at all?
Not to my knowledge, but I can tell you that I think not in the state of Texas anyway. Okay. I don't do a lot of that. I've got a really strong management team, and they do a great job, and I'm at the table. I mean, I'm there to ask hard questions and to worry about the business side of it. But when it comes down to it, the hockey decisions are made by the hockey people.
You mentioned Jim Nill, overtime hero for the Canucks in 1982. I'm sure you remember that. But
Sure do.
everybody we talk to talks about Jim Nill as being one of the best general managers in all of hockey. What do you have in him?
Well, I think he's the reigning, GM of the year for 2 seasons in a row. So, it's no surprise. Where do I start? He's a respectable guy. He treats everybody with respect. He doesn't have a negative thing to say about anybody. I don't think he has an enemy in the NHL. He's got relationships with all the general managers, which is really important to get deals done. So, and he works like a demon. He just works and works and works, and he'll never tell you about it. He'll never ever tell anybody about it. But he doesn't hardly miss a game, any game. He knows the players. He knows the players better than anybody I've met. In senior management in the league. So he is just the real deal, and he's a great relationship guy. And he just breeds a lot of loyalty because he's a quiet leader. He's the hardest working guy in the organization, and when you do that, good things tend to happen. So we've got a good loyal staff of guys, and we've been poached a couple times because of our. We've had some pretty good drafts, and so we've lost a couple pieces of talent out of the staff, which is which happens. Other teams come looking, and that sort of happens. But no, Jim's the real deal. He's just a solid individual, and he's competitive. He's fiery. He and I. It's not kumbaya every day. I can tell you that. But there's you need a little friction and a little tension sometimes, and I think the results of those types of things, you get the best decisions when you're challenged and you have to really make your case and really believe in what you're doing. And so, we've worked together now my GM for 12 years now. So he must be one of the top 2 or 3 serving GMs in the league. So, I'm lucky to have him, and I'm proud that he's the Del Star.
Hey, Tom, when we announced you're coming on the show, we got a ton of texts saying, hey, ask Tom if he's got interest in buying the Vancouver Whitecaps. Tom, they're up for sale. Would that interest you?
I don't know. I've kind of gotten into soccer in the last few, 5 years maybe, but, the league I tend to watch is Premier League. I think the issue for me is just emotional bandwidth. And how much do I have? Whether it's getting involved with football or getting involved with soccer, that's where it kind of hits the road for me. So I'll pay attention to what's going on. We want to make sure that the team ends up in good hands and has a great owner, because it's an important part of Vancouver. And I just don't know that I have the bandwidth to do any more in sports than the teams that I have, and they occupy a tremendous amount of bandwidth. So. That's always been the hurdle for me. So, it'll be interesting to see how this all works.
Yeah, I would imagine owning 3 hockey teams is enough. Tom, thanks so much for this. We appreciate it so much. We're getting all sorts of positive feedback on our Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. Yeah. Thanks so much, my friend.
My pleasure.